good, people? Samurai Lee here, back for another fight talk. This week we're going to be building up UFC Tampa. A really good card on Saturday, so let's get into it. On the Fight Pass prelims, you got Randy Brown looking for a fight welterweight. He's had one fight in the UFC so far. He's undefeated. So yeah, he's a really good prospect, and he's someone I look forward to watching anytime he fights. So yeah, looking forward to seeing him again. The exclusive, or the what they call it, the premiere fight for the Fight Pass prelims is John Dodson and Manny Gamburyan. Now, John Dodson is one of my favourite fighters. I love John Dodson. He's going back up to bantamweight from flyweight, where he was defeated again by Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. I think if Mighty Mouse isn't around, Dodson's probably the flyweight champion. But when Mighty Mouse is as good as he is, I think Dodson's probably just looking for somewhere else to go to try and have a run at a title. So bantamweight's not a bad shout. He's going to be really small at the weight. He's a really small guy. So, I hope he's not someone like Manny Gamburyan, who's been around. I hope he doesn't just use his size on him. But, it's going to be interesting to see how Dodson, obviously he won the Ultimate Fighter at bantamweight. So it's not like he can't compete with the guys, but he's been campaigning down at flyweight for so long now. And it's just unfortunate for him that he hasn't been able to win the title from Mighty Mouse. So him against Manny Gamburyan is a really good fight, a really good test for him back at bantamweight. See how he gets on, see if his power will be there. Just see if he'll be able to. I'm sure his movement will be a massive asset down at that weight. But it's a really interesting fight, and I look forward to seeing that one. Teixeira and Rocky Pennington is on the prelims. Now, I love this fight. I really do. Teixeira, as we know, her last fight she was knocked out by Ronda Rousey. No shame in that. It's happened to many girls. Kat Zingano, it's happened to a lot of them. It's a good, really tough fight for her on her first fight back. Raquel Pennington, don't let her record fool you. She may have a very, I think she might be 6-5. But two of her last losses were on split decisions to Holly Holm in Holly Holm's first UFC fight and Jessica Andrade. So by no means is she someone who just sort of goes in there as she's a very good measuring stick, I think. I personally would love to see Rocky knock Teixeira out. I'm a big Rocky fan. I'd like to see her have a run at the title. It could have, if the split decision had gone her way rather than Holly Holm's, it could be a completely different situation that we're talking about, So it's very small margins, and Rocky is a strong girl. She's going to be in your face. Betch is very, very talented, but I really have a feeling. I think Betch is more likely to win on points, but I really hope Rocky can do something and can do some damage to Betch. We also have Dariush and Chiesa at lightweight. It's a really good fight, Dariush has come off 2 good victories against Michael Johnson and Jim Miller, so he's improving and he's working his way up the rankings as well. Chiesa's always in good fights. He's another Ultimate Fighter winner, and he's been about. He's great with his submissions, great ground game, but he's always improving on the ground as well. I think it should be a really good fight. To stick my neck out, I think Dariush might just do him on points if he can keep it range and not get taken down by Chiesa. I think he might be able to win this one on points. But it's a good fight and it's interesting to see. Cub Swanson is fighting on Saturday night, and I love Cub Swanson as well. He's coming off two defeats to 2 really good guys. Frankie Edgar, we know, is elite level, former lightweight champion. He also got beat by Max Holloway, which a lot of people, including myself, were surprised at. Max Holloway is very young, but he is getting better and better every fight. So there's no shame in getting beaten by an up-and-coming fighter like Max Holloway. But I think he needs to be putting those guys away if he's going to make another title run. Because he was close before. He was close, and then the Frankie fight, he got beat, and then he falls back down the pecking order. So he's fighting Hakran Diaz, who's coming off 2 wins himself. It should be a really interesting fight. I'm going to stick my neck out and say Cub Swanson will do the business. I think he's good enough. I think he's probably a level above Diaz. It should be an interesting fight. I'm going to stick my neck out and say Cub Swanson gets the victory. Khabib Nurmagomedov is fighting against a promotional newcomer called Horch, I believe. It was supposed to be against Tony Ferguson, El Kukui. What a fight that would have been, Khabib against Tony Ferguson. Unfortunately, Ferguson, I think he pulled out injured. You need Khabib Nurmagomedov. If it wasn't for his inactivity, he would be right up there fight. He would have had a title shot by now, no doubt. His last fight, he beat Rafael Dos Anjos. You know, since then, Dos Anjos has gone and had, I think, 4 or 5 fights and became the champion, and you know, nearly had a super fight with Conor McGregor since then. And all this has happened since Khabib's been in the cage. So, you know, the last time he was in the octagon, he dispatched Rafael Dos Anjos. He's a brawler. You know, he'll game you. He'll get you up against the cage. He'll grind you. He'll beat you down. He'll ground and pound you. Khabib is to be 22-0. You know, that's no small feat. I think John Jones is the only one with a similar record. I know he's got 1 defeat on his record, but we know it's not. It wasn't a legit loss. So it's a very similar record. 22-0. I can't look past Khabib for this. I've got to be honest, I don't know a lot about Horch. He's new to the UFC. I've looked up his record. He looks like a good fighter, and to come in at short notice to fight someone like Khabib, he obviously believes in himself, and he wants to try and take this opportunity. So, interesting fight. I don't look past Khabib Nurmagomedov. I think this was going to be a victory for Khabib with, you know, probably little problems for him. So, it should be a good fight. The new co-main event, Namajunas against Teixeira Torres. Brilliant fight. They fought once before. Teixeira Torres defeated Rose a long time ago, before UFC days, obviously. Now, Rose is coming off one of the most impressive victories, the demolition of Paige Van Zandt, where she beat her down for 5 rounds and then finished her late. I mean, she looked excellent. She's still only young, Rose, and you know, she's tall for the weight. She's got good range. Her boxing, her kick, she's brilliant. You know, she's ever improving. I've seen a lot of places people are saying it's an easy fight for her. It's not an easy fight whatsoever. Teixeira Torres is undefeated. You know, she holds the victory over Rose, as I say, a couple of years ago. But she's very young herself. You know, Teisha's very young, and she's got aspirations to be champion herself. This is a really big fight. You know, whoever wins this is most likely to maybe not challenge immediately for the strawweight title, but it's definitely an eliminator for. You know, you've got Claudia Gadelha challenging Joanna Jędrzejczyk for her title in July. Now, you know, who really says Gadelha deserves a title fight? I know they don't like each other. It's only 2 fights ago she fought against Joanna, so a victory for Rose or Teixeira could very well put them in position to challenge for the title. So it's a very big fight, a very good fight. I'm gonna go with Teixeira on points. I think Teisha's smart enough to take her down and beat her up on the ground. If Rose can keep her at range, by all means, she's good enough to keep her at range and box her and jab her away for 15 minutes and beat her when she gets inside and then get back out. So it's a very difficult fight to call. I'm going to stick my neck on the line and say Teixeira might just steal a victory on points. That's the new co-main event. The co-main event was supposed to be Dan Henderson against Lyoto Machida. Obviously, Machida, for whatever reason, has taken a substance that's banned. You know, I don't really want to go into it. The only thing I will say is he's the athlete. It's his responsibility to ensure he knows what he's taking and if it's on the banned list. So it's difficult to have any sympathy for someone who's been around and as experienced and as a professional like Lyoto Machida. It's really difficult to have any sympathy for him. So yeah, Dan Henderson won't be fighting on the card either. He's been moved to June, UFC 199. So disappointed that fight's not going to happen now. It's still a really good card, and that's without mentioning the main event that I move on to now. Glover Teixeira against Rashad Evans. Glover is late. I don't think it's late notice. He took the fight after Shogun pulled out injured. I prefer the fight with Glover for Rashad. They're both 36 years old. They've both, you know, in a way they're dwindling down their careers. I'm going to go with Rashad Evans. I think he's experienced enough to deal with someone like Glover, and I really believe win this fight and he could be in for one more #1 contender fight or one more little run at the title against DC or John Jones. It's his last throw of the dice, as it were, so I really do hope Rashad comes through it.